$0 to $1 million as a one-person business. Is it possible? And does working with other people stress you out? Usually, when people think about a business, they think of an organization that employs many people. Not every business is like that, though. In fact, a lot of small businesses are one-person operations. The census calls them non-employer businesses, and it actually collects a lot of data about these types of businesses. So maybe you have an entrepreneurial streak, but don't work well with others. Well, every business has to deal with customers in one manner or another. But if you prefer to work alone as much as possible, then it might surprise you how successful a company of one can actually be. One person business is pretty self explanatory. Like anything, though, operating a one person business has its ups and downs. Knowing what to expect will help you be prepared if you decide that being a solopreneur is right for you. And by the way, look for a link to the accompanying blog post for this video down in the description. So, what is a one person company? Well, a one person business is actually what it sounds like exactly. It's a business that consists of only one employee. This employee is the owner and has responsibility for all of the business's assets and liabilities. They also receive all of the revenue, pay all the expenses, and then that means, of course, that they also keep all of the net profit. A one person business is sometimes more technically known, like I said earlier, as a non employer business. Why might someone want to operate a one person business? Well, we all have different personalities and we all do our best to work under different circumstances. Some people might thrive in an environment where they hire employees and work with a multitude of different customers and suppliers, and they the type of person that does their best work when working with other people. There are others, however, that interacting with others makes them feel stifled. The more they have to deal with other people's issues, the less energy they have left for things that lead to value creation in a business. Running a one person business does not mean that you do everything yourself. You can, for instance, outsource some of your responsibilities. Doing so would free up your time for activities that are more value added. In cases like this, the relationship is more customer supplier when you're dealing with a freelancer than it is employee employer. When you decide to move on from your one person business, you could sell it to someone else and they could continue to operate it as such. Or they could elect to hire employees and take the business in a different direction than you did. If you decide not to sell, the one person business might simply cease to exist once you've decided to move on. Like I said, a one person business has its pros and cons. Some pros include answering only to yourself, having flexible work hours, keeping all the profits, the status from achieving everything on your own, being able to follow your own vision, not needing to compromise, and not needing to go through any red tape. On the flip side, some cons of a one person business are possibly being overwhelmed. You might have difficulty in luring investors because you have a less professional image. Your business might not be taken as seriously. There's the potential, if you work a lot in your business and depending on what your social life is like, the potential for loneliness. Another big con is being too close to your business for appropriate perspective. There's no one else to give you reality checks, and you might potentially waste a lot of time. I can attest to this just with my little YouTube channel and blog. Finally, one of the cons is that you're assuming all the risk yourself. So, like I said, there are many advantages to owning and running a one person business. All things being equal, it's simple to start. It's also simple to terminate. With a one person business, you can pack up and move on the day you decide you've had enough, short of any contractual obligations you might have to fulfill. Not hiring employees means never having to worry if that expense is going to earn an adequate return on investment. You never have to worry if it's the right time to hire. There's no worrying about how decisions will be received by employees or what the second and third order effects might be from those decisions. Like I said before, it's not all upside, though, of course. There's a reason why many businesses choose to hire employees. Some more disadvantages are that succession might be an issue. As I mentioned earlier, many times the business, a one person business that is, dies once the owner is through with it. By avoiding partners, the one-person business owner assumes responsibility for all liabilities. They are also responsible for raising all the necessary capital. One of the biggest disadvantages, however, is that there isn't necessarily anyone else available to complement the owner's strengths and weaknesses. Though this disadvantage could be potentially worked around by utilizing contractors and freelancers, like I mentioned earlier. It's this disadvantage that can make it challenging to really scale your business up to reach its full potential. So, if you're considering a one person business, make sure that you choose a scalable business model. I talk about that on my other blog, investsomemoney.com, and I'll try to remember to put a link to that down in the description. So, if you're interested in a one person business, here's some ideas that I pulled from another website called Business Alligators. These are just industries. I'll also touch on what makes each industry appealing. For starters, there's finance and insurance. This is appealing because of its potential for recurring revenue. Retail, which I thought was kind of surprising, but actually it's the most popular industry in the 2.5 to 4.99 million annual revenue tier. That was also real surprising. Real estate is another good option as far as industries go. There's certainly no shortage of housing, lots of supply there. Designing is another industry which covers a real wide swath of different things. But if you check out the link on the blog post to this Business Alligators, they cover um, different ways you can be a designer. You can get some ideas there. But anyways, designing gives you the ability to exercise some creativity. It's currency mining, which is potentially very lucrative. E-commerce, which is kind of related to retail, but one benefit of e-commerce is the availability of tools to help with some of the technical aspects and the ability to not just sell locally, but to sell worldwide. There's also fast food or food trucks, which there's always going to be a consistent demand for. Coaching and teaching. This gives you the ability to access a wide variety of different markets. Another idea that they had was mobile laundry, which apparently is a growing industry. It's one that I wasn't really familiar with. And finally, the 10th industry that they name is childcare. And this is another one for which there is definitely consistent demand. So while one-person businesses do have their limitations, they can also be very successful. In fact, there are many that top over $1 million in annual revenue. Keep in mind, of course, that 1 million annual revenue does not mean anything close to that net profit. I think it's safe to say, however, that this level of sales is enough to put a one-person business in position for success. As tools for automation become more readily available, the prevalence of one-person businesses will hopefully continue to grow. Here are a couple examples of one-person businesses with a million or more in annual revenue. Um, Again, if you want to learn more about these companies, check out the link to the blog post in the description. The first one is the babysitting company. Um, this was started in a dorm room and reached $1 million one-person business. When I went to kind of check in on the company now, it looks like that the founder has since hired some help to handle the enormous amount of growth they've experienced. Another million plus in revenue one person business was called Tools for Wisdom. I thought this one was interesting. And this business got its start by simply selling planners on Amazon. And the founder grew to 2 million in revenue before hiring the company's first employee. And the third was interesting also because it was not the type of business that I would have thought would be conducive to a one person business, but it was called Bear Mattress. And it also exceeded 2 million in revenue before they decided to hire help. You might have picked up on a pattern there with those three businesses. Each one decided to hire employees after achieving a remarkable amount of success as a one person business. And it could be, I'm only speculating here, that once they got a taste of success, they decided that remaining solo just wasn't as important as it once was. Anyhow, that's all I got on this particular topic. Thank you if you like or subscribed, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.